to order the meeting of the Haverford Township Zoning Hearing Board of Thursday, November 21st. Present at the front table to my far left is Jessica Vitale, a voting member.
Evening.
Ed McGargy, a voting member.
Evening.
Ernie Angelos, our solicitor.
Hello.
To my right, Bill Rhodes, voting member. Good evening. Jesse Poyton, a voting member.
Good evening.
Jonathan, one. I'm just busting his stuff. Jonathan Mount, the zoning officer. My name's Robert Kane. I'm a voting member. Bill, you want to lead us in the pledge?
Sure. Please rise if you can and repeat after me.
I pledge the United States of America to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
And just to announce publicly, the board met in executive session to discuss a legal matter with our solicitor, and that's why we're starting a little late tonight. We have two decisions, and I'll just make individual announcements about the other cases. The first decision is case Z24-35, Michael and Janelle Valenti, owners of 1517 Steel Road, Havertown, PA, DC folio number 2209-0237300. And I won't read the rest of the description into the record unless somebody specifically requests that I do so. Jesse, would you please take that decision?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, with regards to case Z24-35, I would vote to approve the requested relief with the following conditions. One, that water runoff will be managed so as not to adversely impact neighbors. Two, the project will be completed within 1 year and in accordance with the notes of testimony.
Ed?
I oppose that, but I can understand why the other board members would think it is a de minimis.
Jessica?
I would vote to deny the application.
Bill?
I agree with the motion.
And so do I. That application is approved with those conditions, 3-2. Next decision is case Z24-36, Victoria Finari and John Muse, owners of 869 Penn Street, Bryn Mawr, PA, DC folio number 2205-0082-800. And again, with that one, I won't read the rest of the description into the record unless somebody specifically requests that I do so. Jessica, would you please take that decision?
Yes, I would vote to approve the application with the following conditions. The screen porch will not be enclosed, i.e. the windows will remain screens, not glazing. The room will not be conditioned as testified. There will be no utility other than electric. Water will be controlled so as not to adversely affect neighbors, and it will be completed within 1 year in accordance with the notes of testimony.
Ed?
I concur.
Bill?
I agree.
Jesse?
I agree.
And so do I. That application is approved 5-0 with those conditions. Okay, just to clear a few items off the agenda before we start new cases. Case Z23-17, Sun and Raj Fuel LLC, had been continued to this hearing. It's going to be further continued to our first regularly scheduled meeting.
No, that one's going to go to December 5th. Sun and Raj is December 5th.
Okay. So that one's going to be continued to our December 5th hearing.
And that was a request by both the attorneys for party participants as well as the applicant.
Okay.
Both of which waived as well the applicable time periods in the NPC and the Township Code for allowing us to.
All right. And the next is Z24-38, Sean and Casey Power, owners of 17 Ellis Road. We also received a request for a continuance in that matter. So that case, that's the one that will be continued to our first regularly scheduled meeting in January. We haven't yet set our meeting schedule for 2025. So we don't have a date specific, and I believe Jonathan and Ernie concluded that we'll just re-advertise it. Is that right?
Correct. I think that will need to be re-advertised. And again, similarly, I have a waiver from the attorney allowing us to continue that, waiving all the applicable time periods under the NPC and the Township's ordinance to hold the first hearing.
Okay. And with respect to KZ 24-39, Joe and Nancy Martinelli, that application was withdrawn by the applicant. So what does that leave us with? You want to do this one first, or anything?
Yeah, I mean, in
Right.
any way they're set up.
So our first new case then will be Z 24-37, Matthew Iselman, owner of 648 Paddock Road, Havertown, PA, DC folio number 2204-006250, who seeks a variance from the provisions of section 182711B1 to allow a new garage to violate the required separation distance from the rearmost wall of the dwelling from behind 10 feet to 3 inches in front of the plane of the rearmost wall. Ooh. For a total variance of 13 feet, and a variance from section 182711A1 to permit the proposed garage to be 18 feet tall where 15 feet is allowed. Property zone R2 and located in the 4th Ward. Yep. Matthew, I presume.
Yes. How are you?
I need to swear you in. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And your full name and address for the record, please?
Matthew Isselman, 648 Paddock Road, Havertown, PA.
Okay. And Matthew, you submitted a packet to the township with your application that has various plans and such attached to it. Presumably, you want to use those during the presentation of your case, right?
Yes, I guess
You wanna
the
refer to-
biggest one is the plot plan showing the,
So submitting them to the township is necessary, but in order to make it part of this hearing, they have to be marked as exhibits and then moved into the record. So, Aaron, you want to help him? Here, come on up, man. Ernie's going to help you mark the exhibits just to help you through this process.
Why don't we just go off the record?
Yeah, Jeff, we'll go off, please. So, Matthew, while we were off the record, Ernie helped you with identification and marking of your exhibits. Now that we're back on the record and that's all square, you just want to identify them.
Yeah.
And if he misstates anything, please correct them. These are your exhibits, and we're just doing this to help you through the process.
okay.
So I will identify them as they are identified on the plan themselves. So Exhibit A1 is the site plan, shows the existing condition in addition to the proposed. A2 are elevations, which are the front elevations of the proposed garage. A3 are side elevations. A4 is a aerial of the foundation plan. A5 is a ground floor plan. A6 is the truss diagram for the second floor plan. A7 is identified as a typical wall section. Then A8 is the maximum building coverage and maximum impervious surface coverage sheet calculation.
Does that sound correct, Matthew?
Yes.
Why don't we just admit them now?
Yeah.
So,
You want these submitted into the record?
Yes, please.
All right, so they're admitted. Now that we've gotten through that, please
Okay.
tell us a little bit about what you would like to do and what.
So the project's for a garage. The way the property sits, if I were to go back, I guess the current code is 10 feet off the rear furthest point of the house. I'd be further back, taking up, more of the yard. Where now currently our driveway ends, that the spot sits perfect to have the garage there, which I guess now is adjacent to the deck, where I guess per code, the deck, I'd have to be 10 feet off the deck line, which would put the garage all the way in the back corner of the yard. The height I wasn't going to ask for until I found out I had to ask for this variance. I figured I'd ask for the height. I can stick to the 15 feet. But the plot is what I'm aiming for.
All right, well, and typically the board then will ask you some questions, and so let's go right to that, Bill.
Yeah, so on this question about the separation of the main house from the proposed garage, on A1 shows that it would currently be 12 feet would be, I guess, the shortest distance between the two buildings.
Correct.
And your point is that if you had to push it 10 feet behind the back of the house, I think that would put it in the rear yard setback.
Correct, yeah, off the current, the driveway is current.
Yeah. So is the basketball court that's depicted between the proposed garage, is that there now?
Yes, it's just asphalt driveway.
And there's a fence that runs from the property line to the side of the house on the wing of the basketball court. You know, the point about having space between the two structures is in case it's to protect you in case of fire.
Right.
Get a vehicle behind your house to do it. That fence, though, could be a problem, right? So is that fence, it looks like there's 2 posts in the ground based on those little squares on the fence line. Is that fence able to be fully open so that the 2 halves?
Oh, going down the driveway?
Yeah, on the driveway.
There is a gate, it's the full width.
It's the full width. So the gate can completely open one way or the other.
Correct.
And create the entire 18-foot gap or close to it. Okay. And you'd agree that fence would always remain in that format where it can be fully open?
Well, yeah, I mean, to be honest, it'll be eliminated when our dog passes away. That's what it's for, so.
Well, no one's saying you can't have it, but.
Oh, right.
But from a safety point of view, we wouldn't want to give you the variance and only for you to have it blocked off so no one could get in there anyway and help you if you need it.
No, yeah, the gate fully opens, we park our cars back there.
And how will you manage the water runoff from the new roof? How do you manage, maybe start this way, how do you manage water runoff in your house right now? Is it
It
surface
goes
runoff?
to, I guess the front goes to the front yard, which eventually makes it to the street. The back, all the backyards point back towards the furthest point, and then the backyards of the opposing houses come down, and then it pretty much just flows through the
So
backyards.
the low point is sort of on the property line, at the rear of your property?
Right, yeah, it all flows back to a retaining wall, and then there is a storm drain back there that takes some of the water.
Have you talked to your builder on how you would direct the runoff from the roof?
So, yeah, I'm the builder, so I'm the homeowner, I'm a general contractor. So it would be downspouts, down to the ground and let's say 4 feet off the.
And at that point, you'd be directing the water to the back,
Correct, yeah, it would go.
not to the front.
No, yeah, that'd be impossible in this situation.
And in this is a garage.
Correct.
So is it 2 bay, 1 bay,
One bay,
one
yeah,
wide door?
10-foot wide door.
And then is it at 15-foot height? Let's talk about the height. You said you wanted more, but 15 is.
Preferably, there was going to be a storage loft above. So, at 15, you're really tight. 18, you have a little bit more room.
And are you talking about a pitched roof? Flat roof?
Pitch roof.
Pitched roof. And where would the stairs be?
That'd be a pull-down attic
Pull-down
stair,
attic
or
stair.
maybe just a ladder through a hole.
And are you planning to have any utilities other than electric in there?
No, I mean, as of right now, wouldn't be even electric, maybe down the line, but I'm looking just for bare bones.
And you'd be okay if we said you can have electric, but, no water, sewer lines or anything? that
Oh,
would
yeah,
turn this
no, yeah,
apartment building?
no, would not be in the future at all.
Thank you.
Okay, Jesse?
Yeah, that was my only concern. I understood the 12-foot separation, and we have always looked favorably on that as long as we have a good separation line for safety. My only concern was, whether you were trying. This looked like a very nice garage, and we were just wondering if you were thinking in the future of renting it out. So that would be. I would want to have all those conditions and have you agreed that you wouldn't have any other utilities.
No, it's mainly for the storage of a vehicle, and then just odds and ends from work.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any other questions or concerns.
Jessica?
The Exhibit A1, the site plan, you're showing what look to be bushes to the side of your house next to the basketball court.
Yeah, that just picked up on the image
Okay.
from online.
Okay. Are there bushes there now? Or is it just lawn
Where on the side of the house?
on the
or-
side of the house? I'm just concerned that if there are bushes as they age, they're going to decrease the width between your house and the garage, and they won't be as easy to drive over
Oh,
as, say,
right.
like
No,
a flower
currently
bed.
there's small shrubbery by the deck, There's nothing by the house. It's actually crushed stone and trash cans.
Okay. That's my only question.
Ed?
The question, sort of, the record sort of indicates that you could accept a 15-foot height. And that would be the minimum relief that you would need.
Right, yeah, if there was pushback by, let's say, a neighbor or you had a problem, I'm fine with keeping the 15. I just figured since I'm asking for the variance of the setback, I might as well ask for the height.
Yeah, so in other words, one of the things you'd have to do to be able to, you'd have to prove that you needed a 15, it had a hardship and why you needed to have it, but you're saying you could live with it, so I don't know that we could grant a variance for that.
Mm-hmm.
That's up to the other board member.
Okay.
That's the only comment I have.
And I have no questions.
Okay.
Is there anything else you'd like to add, Matthew?
No, that's all.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? With that, I'll ask if there's anyone present that received certified mail that wishes to testify, anyone that received regular mail, any other residents of Haverford Township. Well, that will close the record on this case, and a decision will be rendered either this evening. In the event we're unable to reach a decision this evening, one would be rendered at our next regularly scheduled meeting on December.
Number 5th.
It's 5, right?
Yep.
December 5th.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
And
You're
you don't
welcome.
have to stay. You can call the township if we were to make a decision tonight.
Oh, just call tomorrow?
Yeah, you can just call, you can call Jonathan.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you, appreciate the
You're
time.
welcome. Have a good night. All right, moving right along. Next packet. I had to use the agenda from last time to get the case. That's the way it was typed in like that on format. All right, next new case. Come on up, George. Z 24-40, Stephen and Dawn Patton, owners of 1368 Harrington Road, Havertown, PA, DC folio number 2201006180, to seek a variance from section 182207C9 to permit impervious surface of 48.9% where 45% is permitted, and 182711B1 to permit the rear wall plane of the main dwelling to be 2 feet behind the front wall plane of the existing garage, where a 10-foot separation is required, in order to construct a single-story addition to the rear of the home for a first-floor accessible suite. The applicants have met the requirements of the Reasonable Accommodations Ordinance, property zone R5, and located in the First Ward. That's not part of this case. No. Go ahead, George.
Good evening, thank you. Just to recount a little bit, yes, George Lavin appearing for
The beard thrower. I think you had a
it
beard
is,
last time
I
we saw you.
apologize. I'm
But you were incognito.
yes, I'm trying. Well, I'm trying to look like Christmas, Santa Claus for Christmas for the grandkids,
You look good,
right?
George.
Yeah. Just to give you a little bit of background, there are two applicants, Stephen Patton, who is here tonight, and his wife, Dawn Patton. Actually, Ms. Patton is in the hospital. She has had a procedure today and can't appear tonight. She would testify if you guys want her to, but I'd like to proceed a little bit, lay out, have Mr. Patton testify as to the need. We have the architect here, Tom Wiedemann,
Yeah, we're
and
not gonna
present it
put her
that
through
way.
that.
Okay. Just with that as a background, I think we have what I would mark as, and you guys can fill me in because of the reasonable accommodation request. I don't know if that should be marked as an exhibit or not, but
Which, George? I
the
couldn't hear
the
you.
reasonable accommodation request and approval that goes in conjunction with
Yeah, you can submit it.
the application. Okay.
Yeah, you can. Is the microphone on, George?
I believe so. I'm just, the beard's making me talk quieter, so I'm teasing. So really, I would have, I guess, 3 exhibits. A1, which would be the zoning application and the attachments. A2, which would be the actual drawing submitted with the zoning application. and A3, which would be the application for the request for reasonable accommodations. I do have an email from Jonathan saying that application was granted. We could mark that as A4 if you want, or however you all would like to do that.
Yeah, let's mark that
We
one
can
A4.
mark that email dated, it's from Jonathan to me, dated November 13th, 2024.
Let's mark that A4.
A4, okay.
That way there's a complete record
Sure,
of the application and the decision.
So that, and I'll give you a brief description and then turn it over to Mr. Patton to tell you about the reason for this, and Mr. Weedman to explain the design to you. But essentially, Ms. Patton has a progressive accelerating disease that will pretty much make her incapable of caring for herself in the near recent future. I believe we talked to Jonathan about her actual condition, and he's familiar with the condition itself and can describe that to you. So what the Pattons are doing is asking for a variance to allow Ms. Patton to live at home with the family in a handicap suite so she can have privacy and can also be treated as necessary. We've designed the suite so it's as small as possible to give her some living space, enough accommodations for a wheelchair to turn around in the bedroom and the bathrooms and things like that. And the one part is it's over in the small brick home development over by Lawrence Road and the school there. They're small houses. The only place to put it is at the rear of the house, and the size of the addition will cause the setback, the distance between the front of the garage and the rear of the addition to violate the standard, which is 10 feet distance. It will actually be relatively close. We have designed it so there's enough space between the side of the garage and the side of the house where we believe we can have access to allow emergency type access. And that, in a nutshell, is the overview of it. I can bring Mr. Patton up and have him talk about his wife's condition and the reason, and then Mr. Weedman up next to talk about the design and try to answer any questions you have up front before that.
How about if we wait on Mr. Patton, because I'm going to want him to
That's
adopt
fine.
the statements that you've made.
Sure.
Because, you know, you.
Sure, yes,
an argument.
agreed,
Yes.
and, yes.
So, call.
Okay.
And then-
Let me call Tom Wiedemann up to talk about the design of the addition.
How you doing, Tom?
Good, how about yourself?
All right, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And your full name and the capacity in which you appear?
Thomas Wiedemann, architect. Wiedemann.
Thanks.
Go ahead, George.
Good evening, Mr. Weedman. If you can, I'll make this very easy, just ask you a general question. Can you explain why you designed the addition you did with the size of the rooms and different conditions there, and how you manage the overall, I guess, footprint of the addition?
But before you do that, I apologize. George, I'm assuming you would like to have him qualified as an expert in architecture?
Yes.
Your architect, correct?
Yes, I'm registered.
I know the board, has
I'm sorry.
qualified, yes. Mr. Is it Wiederman, right?
Wiedemann.
Yeah, before us on several occasions and has been qualified as an expert, and I would recommend that the board do that as well, again, in this scenario, rather than having Mr. Levin go through a colloquy, if that so deems the board's okay.
Unless there's a specific objection from one of the board members, we'll accept Mr. Weedman as an expert in architecture, as we've done in the past.
Thank you. I apologize for the oversight there. Mr. Weedman, if you can, just describe to the board why you designed the addition the way you did it.
Okay, initially, we had met with the Pattons and Mrs. Patton, who this addition is for, and she needed it fully accessible, and she wanted to be close to the family, so basically, we've made a basic one-bedroom suite. We've made it as small as we can. It's fully accessible. We have a ramp coming up the back, the standard ADA accessible 1/12 slope. All the doors are 3 foot We've got the turnarounds marked out. You can see it is fairly small. The living room would actually be nice to have that a little bit bigger, probably showing too much furniture there, but there's enough room for a small couch and for TV. Small kitchenette, and she has access to the house, and so the family can go out there, but with the door, she can close that when needed. Also, at the end of the driveway is where the ramp and the stair is, so that any nurses can just kind of walk right into her apartment, her suite, I should say.
And as far as the kitchenette, what sort of appliances and things like that are in there?
It's just a refrigerator and a sink, and then she'll be able to put a microwave in there on the counter.
Okay. So you're not designing, I heard there were questions at the other hearing about the possible rental of this space. Is this area being designed or intended to be a rental type space?
No, not at all. And I'm sure the owners would testify to that.
Okay. Any other design considerations other than the, as far as variances or needs, besides the setback distances and maybe the distance between the houses and impervious surface?
Well, the only variance that's requested is the distance to the garage. And there really wasn't much we could do with that. We tried to keep it as close up as we could, but then really we were only allowed maybe 4 or 5 feet behind the back of the house, and you couldn't really even get a bathroom and a bedroom at that point. So we do want to keep the garage because that would be a good place for her to park, and the owners use the garage too. So.
And that's actually a shared garage. There's another garage to the neighbor to the, I guess, the right side as you're looking at the drawing.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. That's all the questions I have.
Jesse?
Could you describe the general exterior of the house? Is it going to be is it going to match the character of the house and the neighborhood in general?
Yes, we are looking to match it up. We're using brick and siding, and the siding will match the existing color of the siding.
And you may have heard in the previous case, we asked how rainwater would be managed so as not to adversely impact neighbors. Could you describe generally how the water runoff from the new roof of the addition would be handled?
Most likely, it would go to gutters, and then the downspouts would go into the backyard. Yeah.
Right. So you're going a little bit over your impervious coverage. So we would, certainly want to make sure that water is managed, and we certainly understand all the other considerations for this project as well. So there is a new entrance to the suite, and then it looks like there's a double door entrance to the existing kitchen. Are those two new doors, or are there already doors that exist in this area of the house?
Those 2 new doors coming out of the kitchen area, those are new. I believe right now there's a double window there. And then I think the door into the suite, yeah, it looks like there's a slider there right now.
I was sorry, I was only talking about the exterior doors, but okay. I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
It was here and 10 feet back. Not the column. Okay. Jessica?
I just have a question about the new entry door into the rear suite. It doesn't look like there is clearance on the inside of the door that you would typically see for an ADA door.
Yeah, the 1 foot on the push
Yeah.
side. Yeah, it's a little tight there. We might be able to push that door back and then use the existing wall there as part of the push. But we could make that happen. It's,
Okay, without asking for additional space. I just wanted to confirm.
no, we might, we'll have to figure something out, but.
Okay. And I just want to clarify that a separate, and maybe this is not a question for you, but that a separate living space was requested as part of the design for this rear area.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
She wants to kind of have her own separate area.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Ed?
From the main house to this addition, is there an access?
Yes, there's a door right at the
Okay,
kitchenette
so
area.
it is attached to the house and being able to access the house without going outside.
Yes.
That's all I had.
I have no questions. Anything else? Phil? Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped.
So I just want to understand, so when the applicant would access the house using the ramp, when they walk up onto, I guess it's the level platform deck, they'll have two French doors that open at grade between, so it'll be flush between the ground floor and the patio. And at the same time, there's a separate door on the right that may or may not be ADA compliant as it's currently drawn. Why have that separate door anyway? Why not just come in and through the French doors?
You could, but then you're walking into the house and it wouldn't be a separate, if you're having nurses come in or if she's coming in at an awkward time, she can just walk right into her apartment as opposed to going in the house.
And having that separation is important for her needs.
Well, I would imagine, sooner or later, she's going to have quite a few nurses coming in there. It could be all hours of the night.
And because, this runs with the land down the road, what you're building is a whole separate apartment. Now, I realize you don't depict an oven. You certainly depicted kitchen counters that would be big enough to put an oven in or a range. So would the applicant agree that as a condition that there would be no stove or range included? Because that's the only thing that looks like this keeps this suite, which is being requested for the accommodation, from essentially being an apartment, a separate apartment.
Yeah, I'm sure you would agree to
I
that.
think just if we could direct that question to the applicant or the co-applicants, yes.
And then, so the applicant does need a separate kitchenette, even though the kitchen is literally through the same door that's separating the two. Is there, from a design point of view, I'll ask you and then we can, the need for separate kitchen facilities in this suite.
I believe, it's just for her to have her own privacy, her own area, her own refrigerator. People like to have their own stuff without everyone else getting at it.
And then just a question, you heard on the last case where we wanted to make sure we understood the separation between the proposed addition and the existing improvement. So here it's the existing garage, it's the reverse of the other case. And I just want to make sure I'm reading this right. So, but this is your measurement, 11 feet 5 3/4 inches separates the parallel lines of the addition and the existing garage. That's the narrowest point.
Yes, that's the narrowest. On the other side of the house, you have 8'10"
Side of the house.
the side.
Oh, no, I'm just talking about the separation from a fire point of view. They would presumably come up the driveway, and you've shown 11 feet 5 3/4, I believe that's your measurement. But the ramp itself is how wide?
It'd probably be 3.5 feet.
So that comes down to essentially just under 8 feet gap between the the outer railing of the ramp and the garage, 8 feet. And on the other side of the house, we only have 8 feet 10. Okay, I just want to make sure I was.
And Tom, you understand the purpose of that requirement, right? I mean, we don't want, firemen can't be in a crush zone or collapse.
Sure.
They need to be able to get back there if something were to happen.
Not have, or get a vehicle back there. If they
Okay. I have no questions. Any other questions for Tom, Jesse, Ed,
No other question.
Jessica?
Do you know if the adjoining house has a similar, would you say, setback on that side where the garage is not? Side yard setback.
Yeah, they actually have a pretty big addition on that side.
I just mean the neighbor who does not share your driveway, that does not share the driveway side, are they similarly 8 feet back from the property line?
I believe so.
I can ask Mr. Patton when he comes up.
Okay.
Any other questions?
George, you have anything else for Tom? All right, thanks, Tom. Sure. Well, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, all the truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And your full name and address for the record, please?
Stephen Patton, Patton, 1368 Harrington Road, Haverford Town, PA.
Okay. Mr. Patton, if you could just, in generalities, and you don't need to get into the specifics of the exact condition your wife has, but if you could tell the board what her current condition is and what her prognosis is over the near and longer term future.
She has a autoimmune disease, which come from a virus, and you just never know what it's going to attack next. Right now, it's a lot in her fingers, and she had to have a part of her thumb removed, so she can't do dishes, she can't do wash. And this is a disease that's not going to get any better. There's no pill she can take. It's going to make her feel better. Prognosis, usually most people last 20, 25 years, and she's already had it for 20. We hope that she stays on forever, but we know the outcome is not good. So I'm just trying to make her life, a little easier. Bigger space. Right now we're in a small bedroom. You can't get a wheelchair around the sides. So I'm planning for the future, not for right now, basically.
Just if you could, Mr. Patton, just describe your family and who's living with you and the family situation in the house.
Right now it's just me and the wife.
Okay. And you do have, I believe Ms. Patton told me that she did have some of her relatives come and stay with her at times. And
Yeah.
Is your house crowded and busy a lot?
Well, we have 3 grandchildren that are always over. My daughter is divorced, and so she spends a lot of time over with the kids. So it's very crowded, and to get away is very hard. To just can't just go to another room because we only have 2 rooms, 3 rooms there. So part of this is having a space for her to go and have a quiet time.
As far as the design of the space, what was your intent as far as the features? What were you and your wife?
Well, we have a kitchen, so we don't really need a space where she's going to cook. We can cook anything we want in the kitchen. That was just a space that, in case that she gets to be wheelchair bound, she can get around. She can go get a glass of water. She doesn't have to go all the way through the house into the kitchen part.
And just if you could, I know Dawn isn't able to attend tonight. Just tell the board what the circumstances of that are in general.
Well, we visit with John Hopkins, where doctors are. It's one of the best in the country, and they wanted to get her catheterization done So she had that done today to make sure that the disease isn't affecting her heart. It does affect her lungs, and she's having a harder and harder time going up the steps because that's where she changes, up the steps. So that's another reason why I wanted the rooms put on, so she could have a place where she could go and change. Wheelchair accessible.
I think that's really all the questions I have specifically. If you've got any other comments or things you want to make.
No, I'm just trying to make her life easier, that's all.
Bill?
Mr. Patton, just a couple questions. So if we were, willing to do this but we wanted to condition that you wouldn't rent it out.
No, I have no intention to rent it out at all.
No sort of permanent cooking facilities like stove or range.
No,
And if there comes a time when you don't need the accommodation, would you be willing to remove the ramp to create a little bit more of a space between the garage and the house to allow, to protect you if you needed the fire?
oh, sure.
Jesse? No question. Ed?
If you don't mind, just Mr. Mount down there. I'm looking at the agenda, and there's another case that's
Yeah,
added.
it shouldn't be.
It's a typo?
Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to
And
clear
there's,
that up.
Bob and I noticed that earlier as well. Oh, yeah.
That's all I had. Nothing.
Jessica?
Mr. Patton, can you just confirm that your existing kitchen was not designed to be wheelchair accessible?
Yeah, it definitely was not. She can't even reach up there
Okay,
when sitting in a chair.
thank you. No other questions.
And, yeah. Go ahead. You go ahead. I have a question for him, but I'll ask him.
No, I was just going to make sure because you wanted us to remind
adopt,
to
yeah.
adopt his.
Let me ask this.
Okay.
So you heard us talk about the fire and clearance in case, God forbid, you had a fire. Do you feel that they would be able to get into the back of the house to attack a fire with the ramp and everything?
Yes, I think so.
That's it.
George, you want to have him just adopt
Yes.
what you said in the beginning?
However you want to do that. If you want to.
Yeah, I mean,
that's fine.
you were obviously present when Ms. Levin made an opening statement to the board and mentioned some certain criteria and things that he was proposing in connection with your application. Was he accurate in those statements?
Yes.
And
very.
if you were to testify directly as a result of questions from Ms. Levin in that on those topics, you would have testified consistent with his statements?
Yes,
Okay. And you would adopt his statements as your own?
I would.
Stephen, we wish you the best. Good luck. What else do you have?
That's all I have.
That's it?
Yep.
George?
Well, I moved, from an evidentiary standpoint, I would like to move the exhibits in
They're admitted?
and request that the board approve the request as submitted, application as submitted.
Okay. For that, I'll ask if there's anyone present that received certified mail that wishes to testify? Anyone that received regular mail? Any other residents of Haverford Township? Yep. Would you like to testify, ma'am? Yeah.
Oh, not about this.
This is the only other case we have tonight.
Question about, you glossed over it so quickly. I was here for the Powers conversation. I lived next door to them. And I thought it was going to be tonight. I didn't know that. So anything you can tell me about what happens next, I would appreciate.
So why don't we?
Yeah, as soon as we're done this, I mean, I can make it quick so you can run out of here. They requested a continuance, so it's going to be continued until January. But our meeting schedule for 2025 has not yet been set. We can't set it until the first week of January, ironically. So
The roof has
it
been
will
up
be.
already for 16 months, so I'm just wondering.
I can't even go into any of that
Yeah.
because we have to open a formal hearing to discuss it at all. Just as a courtesy, I'm telling you,
Okay.
it'll be sometime in January.
I mean, I talked to someone in the office on Monday, and I had no reason to think it wasn't going to be.
Yeah, the request came in, I believe it was Wednesday. I think the continuance request came in from council. He had a conflict and couldn't make it here this evening. So there will be notice that will be sent out again to everybody. If you received notice last time, you would likely receive notice again of the next hearing date.
So with that, we'll close the record on this case, and a decision will be rendered either this evening. If we're unable to render a decision this evening, one would be rendered at our next regularly scheduled meeting on December 5th.
Thank you.
We're gonna,
Thank you.
this is very early for us. We're usually here until
minute
11 or
before
so,
9,
Tom
yeah.
knows. So we'll likely do it tonight, but we're gonna go into recess. We'll go off the record, please, Jeff. Okay, we'll reconvene the meeting of the Haverford Township Zoning Hearing Board. With respect to case Z 24-37, Matthew Isselman, owner of 648 Paddock Road, and I won't read the rest of the description into the record unless somebody requests that I do so. Are you prepared to vote? Jessica?
I am.
Ed? Bill?
Yes.
Jesse? Yes. And so am I. Jesse, would you please take that decision?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, with regards to case Z 24-37, I would vote to partially deny in regards to denying the height request, but I would vote to then I would vote to approve the other requested relief with the following conditions. The only utility will be electric. No cooking, kitchen, or bathing facilities will be provided in the garage. Water runoff will be managed so as not to adversely impact neighbors. Planting between the house and garage will be controlled so as not to reduce the space between the house and the garage to less than 10 feet. The fence on the driveway will be fully opening the clear width with no post in the middle to maintain access to the driveway. No other posts or obstacles will be placed in the driveway that would limit said access. The project will be completed within 1 year and in accordance with the notes of testimony.
Bill?
I agree.
Ed?
I concur.
Jessica?
I agree.
So do I. That application is denied in part with respect to the height request and approved in all other respects with those conditions, 5-0. With respect to KZ 24-40, Stephen and Dawn Patton, owners of 1368 Harrington Road. Jessica, are you prepared to vote?
I am.
Ed?
Yes.
Bill?
I am.
Jesse? Yes. As am I. Bill, would you please take that decision?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. With respect to KC 24-40, I would vote to approve the requested relief subject to the following conditions. No rental of the addition shall be permitted at any time. There's no stove, oven, or other permanent cooking facilities installed in the addition. The applicant will maintain direct interior access from the addition to the existing home in perpetuity so as not to require someone to walk outside to go into from one to the other. The ramp will be removed once the need for the accommodation is no longer necessary. And the applicant will manage the stormwater runoff so as not to adversely affect any of his neighbors. And the project will be completed within 1 year in accordance with the notes of testimony.
Jesse?
Agree.
Jessica?
I agree.
Ed?
I concur.
And so do I. That application is approved with those conditions, 5-0. Jessica?
Mr. Chairman, Ernie sent us minutes from the November 7th meeting, and I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
I will second that.
Because I could not attend that, I'll abstain.
Okay. Let's do a voice vote then. Jessica, yes?
Yes.
I vote yes.
Yes.
Ed left the room, but there's a quorum and a majority, so the minutes are adopted. Any other administrative matters? Okay, then we're adjourned.